The following may contain language and subject matter which is not appropriate for all audiences. Hello, everyone. Thank you once again, or again, as our Commonwealth brethren say it, for joining us here on the Low Fact Podcast. Dave and Matt.
Hello.
Sitting here trying to rack our very small minds to, I don't know.
The difficult topics that you throw out. Fate or free will on our last episode. I'm like, come on. That's pretty tough.
Not really. I mean, it's yes or no.
But it's not a yes or no answer.
It kind of is.
Yeah.
So today, I thought maybe we'd go back to our, our intelligence thing?
Oh man, return to intelligence.
A little bit. I mean, I don't remember how much of it that we kind of touched on. But the topic that I was thinking of was the abandonment of critical thinking and the
embracing.
Okay. Of fantasy. And what I mean by that is that everyone kind of thinks that there's been a real decline in critical thinking, correct?
Yep.
And
I don't think there's even a question around that.
I blame our parents' generation of starting it.
Oh, you think it started with the boomers?
Well, in my lifetime, I think it did. But I think we also, the Xers, the Generation Xers, probably really latched onto it, and it's still going. And if the proposition is correct that critical thinking is not a matter of raw processing power, but merely exercise, habit, is what at least one thing that I've read has said. Critical thinking is not a matter of, raw intelligence, but it becomes, you can get it, gain it, develop it, and master it by doing it.
Well,
thinking
okay.
Critically, that is.
Yeah.
And, And it's popular right now with the whole Common Core thing, which supposedly was designed to increase critical thinking, but it has had the opposite effect.
So what? Yeah, because when we were talking about this topic a little while back, why does critical thinking come out of doing something rote, like over and over and over and over? How does that teach you to do stuff? How does that teach you critical thinking? Like memorization or repetition of a task or whatever.
Supposedly memorization and that stuff is a foundational aspect of critical thinking. You have to learn to You have to learn to crawl before you can learn to walk.
Uh-huh.
That's the idea that I glean from the thing that I've read.
But you don't know why.
No, I don't.
I mean, it probably just has to do with wiring, or I don't know.
Well, I think it has to do if you consistently see examples of a certain action leading to another action,
and you have to learn it by doing it.
Well, yeah, the critical thinking part, you can become better at it by doing it, but you can't just start thinking critically. You have to have the building blocks: memory, usage of facts, because part of it's probably just a shortcut. I mean, you can keep on, if you forget how to do something, you can keep on teaching yourself how to do it.
So I wonder if...
Like boiling water.
Okay. Well, that's easy.
Right. Why is that easy?
Because you're taught this is how you boil water.
But if you didn't know that if you applied heat...
Oh, then you would never be able
to water, that it will boil after a certain amount of time. But that boiling is because the heat is raising the temperature of the water to excite the atoms into a certain state, so they start bubbling at 212 Fahrenheit or 100 Celsius.
Oh, it's 100 Celsius?
Yes.
Didn't know that.
Mr. Metric System.
But here's a question. So, because there's obviously certain courses, right? Supposedly like law is a good course. A law degree is a good qualification for critical thinking?
Supposedly, that's the thing that lawyers are supposed to do, and we spend
But do you think that's the focus when they design law courses nowadays? They're like, oh, we need to make sure that we're preserving the critical thinking aspect of this degree.
If they are not, then they are really kind of making that degree different from what it was intended.
So you think the original law degree, what do you think it was? Is it a chicken or an egg thing? Did it just happen? Or did the people that founded the university, well, before, right? It was reading the law was not even a degree. It was...
Well, before you could read the law and become a lawyer, and in reading the law, what you did was you sat with the lawyer, paid him, or her, but mostly it was him back in the old days, like 1700s and before, where you sat in a law office, you paid a lawyer to read law opinions and then discuss with the lawyer as to why the reasoning or why a certain result came out.
Yeah, so it's like totally focused on critical thinking then.
Well, I think it still is. And, it was decided that it would take 3 years. And after 3 years of, taking a whole body of courses, but in all those courses, the main objective was to be able to think in a certain way and to rationalize, reason, results based on precedent, based on law. And, that's how lawyers learn to do the things that we do. And yeah, it takes, it takes 3 years of school and then several years after to kind of start thinking in a way that you don't even realize that you think it now.
Yeah.
I think the common knowledge or the conventional wisdom is after law school, it takes 7 years to learn how to be a lawyer.
So I wonder what other courses are really good. I suppose philosophy probably is.
It's a good intro course, but again, if it's the philosophy like logic, like if A then B and all that stuff, and then the philosophical arguments, sure.
Yeah.
But you don't necessarily need those.
To critically analyze stuff?
Well, in terms of law, but to critically analyze stuff, I don't know that you need.
Yeah, well, a lot of people don't learn philosophy now. Most people. I think it's pretty rare.
But again, so the abandonment of critical thinking, I do think that people have abandoned it. People watch stuff on TV or read something and just pretty much accept that is true based on a desire. I want to believe that X is true, so it must be true because I've read something that says it is true.
And
or I like these other people, or I like what these other people are saying. They're saying this, so it must be true.
And what about
because I think to think critically, you need to question. And just because you question, it doesn't mean that you disbelieve or you disrespect somebody.
But just questioning stuff, that's not necessarily like critically thinking.
I think it's a first step.
Because
if someone says, vote for me and I will give you all this free stuff, and you say, cool, without going into, how is that going to be paid for?
Yeah.
Without going into, other people have promised that same promise for different things, and yet it has not happened. Why is that?
Because it's always...
If you don't, that's what I'm saying. If you don't ask those questions, or if those questions don't come up, then you have abandoned your critical thinking. Whether or not you had it anyway or you did it is a whole nother issue, and that's kind of what I was thinking about talking about when I said the abandonment of critical thinking
and
in the embracing of fantasy. And like I said at the very beginning, I think that kind of started with the boomer generation, got off to us, and you can't blame somebody who gives you the wrong information for going off and going nuts on the wrong information. They have a part to play. But
well, yes, you can. I mean, if it's a parent, if it's a whole generation of parents, I think you can blame them.
You can blame them for your shitty life, for not doing. My parents or the people, my elders, the people that were supposed to teach me things, took advantage of me. whether or not purposely, but I was taken advantage of, so I can't be held responsible that I did X. I grew up in a bad neighborhood, and because I grew up in a bad neighborhood, if I ended up stealing stuff or being a sociopath, then, you can't blame me because I was put in this environment and I had nothing to do with it. That runs counter to all this. You can be everything you want to be. You can outgrow. You can excel. You can go beyond your circumstances.
You're like, which is it?
Well, it's going back to the whole thing. If you do something good, then all the positive stuff in my life was because I am great, and all the negative stuff in my life is because some other bastard messed with me. That's bullshit.
I think you can be mad at the boomer generation.
Sure, but you can be mad at that at someone else who gave you the short end of the stick that may not have, and again, unintentionally. I don't think there's ever a parent or someone who wants to intentionally do bad things for their kids, but you can do that, yes, but at a certain point, it's your fault.
Why the boomers though? Like, how did that happen? I mean,
I think they grew up with life being they grew up pretty we grew up pretty privileged too, but they grew up in an America that was pretty nice.
Yeah.
When they were small children, the ones that were born right after the war, the whole rest of the world was devastated and everybody had to buy US stuff.
Yeah.
To rebuild their countries, so a whole lot of money came in here and a whole lot of nice things, and and I'm not going to go into the greed factor of this or the feeling bad about having it too easy as compared to other people. That's not what it's about. But I do think that the ball was started rolling.
So it was a spoiled generation then. Spoiled as in
but the generation after that, us, is spoileder. And I
don't know if we're more spoiled than boomers, maybe. But our generation definitely is.
What do you mean you don't think we're more spoiled?
I mean, I don't think things are as. I mean, I think there was. I mean, I don't know about it.
You're making weird comparisons now.
How is it weird? I mean, I'm trying to determine which was who had it better. The boomers.
You're going off of material things.
Yeah, I am. I'm thinking about material things.
Material things does not necessarily spoil a person.
So you're not talking about the material? Material
is part of it, but the material is not a very big part. Being spoiled is really a mindset.
Okay. Well, our generation is definitely spoiled then.
And the generation after us is just as, if not more.
So it's just getting... And so is that the correlation?
Well, there is spoiling. It's a mindset without some instruction onto defeat it, I suppose.
Defeat
the mindset. If you have a mindset that you should get whatever you want when you want it all the time,
right,
then someone needs to, or no, someone doesn't need to. If you have any brain power at all, you should realize after a certain age, maybe 5, that what you want, you can't have what you want when you want it. And the idea that you can is rather childish, and I will go so far as to say stupid. Because if we could, I should be taller. I should be better looking. I should be thinner. Just by thinking that.
That sounds crazy.
Right, if you put it towards that, right? So they don't think about those things.
Something physical, I'm like, it's
Think
impossible.
about, you can have all the money you want. You can have the spouse that you want. You can have a lifestyle that you want.
You can be president.
How is that different from saying you can grow?
See,
Now, people do. People put a divide on that. Oh, yeah, I should be able to make as much money as I want, and if I kind of throw it out there and, whatever, it'll happen. Well, what's the difference between I should be able to grow 11 inches and play in the NBA at 49 as a rookie because I want to be like Jet Li in The One and Dennis Rodman? Now, for those of you who haven't seen Jet Li's The One, it was a movie that had a multiverse of people, and there was one character who killed himself off in various various multiple universes, thus making the ones left stronger, until there was only two. And Dennis Rodman, well, he was very short until a couple of years after high school, and then in a year he grew 11 inches.
That's insane. So,
take a breath, because we've run out of time.
Well, I think you've found a connection.
And we can talk about it more tomorrow. Thank you very much.